One word, acquitted, just rewrote hip-hop history and spared Sean Diddy Combs a potential life sentence. Stick around as we unpack the lightning-fast jury switch-up, the single prosecutorial misstep that torpedoed a month of testimony, and exactly who wins or loses millions in the verdict's wake. The twist you'll least expect? It involves a forgotten 1910 law and Diddy's next business move. Speed round: is today's big winner justice or star power if fame tipped the scales? Then, using exactly 7 words, craft the headline you expect to see about Diddy's next move and comment it below. How did 12 complete strangers, marinated in 7 weeks of salacious testimony, march to a unanimous not guilty on racketeering after just 13 hours of debate? That lightning-fast pivot shows how a single shaky thread, here, the prosecution's confusing timeline tying nightclub cash drops to interstate freak-off travel, can snap an entire RICO narrative, vaporizing a potential life sentence. Speed can signal certainty. When you deliver any high-stakes argument, remember, clarity plus coherence equals conviction. Lose either one and the jury, boardroom, or comment section flips on a dime. Juror number 6 later said the verdict just felt obvious once events were mapped chronologically. Proof that narrative structure decides destiny. Halfway through week 2, the prosecution's crown jewel, Cassie Ventura, tripped on a single calendar detail. Under cross-examination, she swore the alleged post-dinner rape happened in August 2018. Defense counsel calmly flashed her earlier sworn statement naming September. Jurors leaned forward. The inconsistency cracked the veneer of her 4-day testimony and handed the defense its first audible momentum shift. Reporters live tweeted, "Timeline trouble," while prosecutors huddled to patch credibility around their pregnant star witness. Details decide destinies. Whether you're pitching investors or pleading a case, rehearse your chronology until every date feels tattooed. One misstamped month can flip convinced minds. Picture the mahogany benches bristling with phones lowered and breaths held. Judge Aaron Subramanian's final command: maintain order while the verdict is being read. Drop the room into oxygen-thin quiet. The jury foreperson, a 31-year-old investment analyst, gripped a cordless mic in one hand. The verdict slipped in the other. Neither trembled. 8 heart-stretching seconds later, he spoke. "Not guilty of racketeering." Gasps popped like flashbulbs. But marshals hissed for silence until every count was pronounced. Silence amplifies impact. Use strategic pauses in your next pitch. The calm before your key point makes ears lean in. "I'm coming home, baby," Diddy shouted across the hushed gallery, squeezing his mother's hand as the acquittal landed. Within minutes, Bad Boy catalog streams jolted roughly 20%, and Discord investor rooms buzzed about a love-era rebrand that might revive 9-figure sponsorships, despite the judge denying him bail moments later. Words move billions. Whether you're a mogul or a micro creator, broadcast the future you want funded before any ink dries. Confidence can raise capital faster than spreadsheets. But analysts note his net worth has already slid to about $400 million under the weight of 50-plus civil suits. Bravado alone won't refinance that. Within hours, Combs' crisis team rolled out a textbook 3-step salvage plan. First, lead counsel hailed the mixed verdict as a great victory for the jury system, giving newsrooms an instant defense-framed headline. Next, PR staff seeded social threads with #LoveEra, while Bad Boy catalog streams jumped 20%. A reminder that curiosity mixed with nostalgia can spike revenue fast. Finally, veteran producer Tony Dofat publicly said he'd work with Diddy again, offering skittish brands permission to rethink partnerships. Control the story, or be controlled. Draft your own first 48 blueprint. Own the headline, show momentum, recruit validators. Acquitted of racketeering and sex trafficking, yet now facing up to 20 years for 2 Mann Act prostitution counts, Diddy's victory came laced with a prison bar aftertaste. Judge Aaron Subramanian denied bail, citing mandatory detention rules. So the mogul waits in a Manhattan cell until an October 3rd sentencing that could still eclipse his empire. Victory can mask peril. In business, celebrate partial wins, but immediately inventory every hidden liability before the confetti lands. One overlooked exposure can erase the headline triumph overnight. Prosecutors don't pull the RICO trigger unless every link clicks, stresses former federal prosecutor Naama Rahmani when asked why the government rarely risks a racketeering trial. His point lands in the data. From 2018 to 2022, only 1,740 people surfaced in RICO investigations. But once cases hit court, 97.5% of defendants were convicted, an almost bulletproof record. Numbers reveal strategy. When success hinges on chaining dozens of facts, overbuild your evidence library before you pitch, present, or prosecute, because one missing link and the whole enterprise collapses. Labels no longer rely on gut checks. They're wiring AI dashboards that flag an artist's litigation risk before a single beat drops. Sony just pumped $16 million into Vermilion, whose Trace ID scans social chatter and court dockets, then spits out a red, yellow, green score for any track or personality tied to lawsuits. Universal, Warner, and Sony are simultaneously negotiating with AI music generators, Suno, and Audio to bake the same traceability into every remix they license. Industry legal AI spend is projected to hit $1.55 billion next year, triple 2023 levels. Data predicts reputational blowouts. Before signing talent or collaborating, run your own risk scan. Court records, sentiment dashboards, and brand safety filters can spare 7-figure headaches. Outside the courthouse, Cassie Ventura skipped microphones, gazed steady behind dark glasses. She paused, squeezed her husband's hand, then slipped into a waiting SUV without a word. Moments later, her attorney told cameras she was at peace, and that by testifying, she paved the way for Combs' prostitution convictions. The flash story lasted 30 seconds, yet social feeds flooded with the clip, applauding survivor courage and resetting the drama's moral center. Silence can thunder. When crisis swirls, the smartest move is decisive quiet, followed by a clear surrogate message. Let trusted allies speak while you reclaim calm. Ready for the deeper money trail? Tap subscribe and hit the bell. Next episode decodes how verdicts ignite streaming spikes, sponsorship exits, and bail bond math. Don't miss the numbers behind the headlines. Prosecutors queued up the 2016 hotel hallway assault video expecting shockwaves. Instead, the split screen of grainy CCTV beside a brightened iPhone re-record felt eerily polished, and courtroom whispers of "too produced" began to swirl. A forensic analyst spent an hour slowing frames, fixing speed glitches, and swearing nothing was doctored. Yet the very need to fix the clip underlined defense claims of manipulation, blunting its punch. One juror later admitted the footage played like a reality show teaser, not hard evidence. Authenticity beats theatrics. Within 12 hours of the verdict, Chartmetric logged 25,691 brand new Spotify monthly listeners for Diddy, a 261% one-day spike. Simultaneously, Luminate data shows his overall U.S. catalog streams leapt 20% across Spotify, Apple Music, and Amazon Music as courtroom clips rocketed through TikTok's For You feed. Prep, flash sale links. Algorithm surges last hours, but early movers capture the revenue wave. Ever notice what never made the charge sheet? Section 2423 of the 1910 Mann Act, the clause that piles on decades if minors or force are proved, stayed buried because every disputed flight fell outside the 5-year federal clock and involved consenting adults, experts point out. Criminologist Kimberly Mailman Orozco adds that designer bags and condos looked more like gifts than deprivation, blunting modern trafficking rules. Skating those thresholds let the defense recast jet-set weekends as consensual travel, trimming exposure from life sentences to a 10-year max per count. Loopholes outlive headlines. Before any high-stakes venture, audit statutes and timelines, legal blind spots decide leverage. Picture a seed round Zoom where the lead VC stops screen sharing and adds one last slide: morals, claw, back, clause. Overnight, Investor Counsel slipped new language that lets them yank equity if a founder's public misconduct tanks valuation. Direct fallout from Diddy's split verdict torching brand deals. Firms like Universal and Warner already require background checks plus instant termination triggers in artist contracts. And ESG-minded funds are copying that template into venture term sheets. Contracts evolve overnight. Before signing capital, stress test every clause for reputation landmines and negotiate sunset limits, because today's fine print can swallow tomorrow's exit. Still think Diddy dodged real justice? You're in crowded company. A YouGov Snap poll taken hours after the verdict found 59% of Americans calling the outcome not harsh enough, while only 16% said it felt about right. Compare that with a pretrial survey where 72% already expected him to be guilty, a perception gap that barely budged despite the courtroom win. Narrative outlives evidence. Whether you're launching a product or defending a reputation, shape the public storyline early. Because once half the crowd forms a verdict, stats show they rarely flip. TikTok, 92 days until October 3rd, when Judge Arun Subramanian will sentence Combs, unless lawyers convince him at a July 8th status meeting to shift the calendar. With bail denied, the mogul spends every night in Brooklyn's MDC. Those days qualify as time served, potentially shaving any final term. Prosecutors say the two-man act convictions warrant 51 months at minimum, though statutes cap the risk at 20 years. The defense is signaling a push for probation by spotlighting nonviolent conduct and philanthropy. Deadlines decide deals. In your own projects, chart best case versus worst case early. Countdowns sharpen strategy. Combs' team is sketching 3 trust fast tracks already whispered to Billboard insiders. Play number 1. Double his $1 million Bronx charter pledge into a Capital Prep College Promise Fund, underwriting full tuition for 50 Harlem grads. Play number 2. Earmark a matching $1 million for domestic violence shelters, publicly overseen by survivor-led nonprofits to diffuse skepticism after the Cassie firestorm. Play number 3. Spin up a Black Founders Seed Lab, recycling 10% of Combs Enterprises' next year profits into minority startups, a nod to his earlier $1 million Howard Scholarship, now revoked, cautioning that half measures backfire. Good deeds beat PR blasts. Before any brand pivot, budget tangible impact, and ensure third-party oversight to convert headlines into healing. Meet 34-year-old Assistant U.S. Attorney Christy Slavic, the youngest face at the prosecution table. Her 17-second mic drop line, "Money can't erase scars," lit up TikTok, racking up 4.2 million views and rocketing praised Slavic's speech onto the trending page within 6 hours. From mismatched dates to overproduced footage, this trial proved one law: story beats spectacle. Clear timelines shattered RICO. Raw evidence swayed hearts, and disciplined messaging turned courtroom chaos into controlled headlines. Your move? Draft a crisis playbook now. Document every fact, rehearse your core narrative, and keep a speed dial truth team ready before the storm hits. Prepared minds win storms.